Hello everyone, it's SIMS here. Welcome to a brand new video. Today's topic might be a little bit of a heavier one, and we are going to talk about the SIMS resource laying off 68 SIMS content creators from their featured artist program. But as always, before starting this video, if you want to support me and my channel, don't forget to leave a like to this video and subscribe down below. But this video is going to be kind of a part 2 from one video that I made almost like a month ago, maybe more than that at this point, where I talked about Enthusiast Gaming, which is the parent company from the SIMS resource, and the fact that Enthusiast Gaming was having a pretty rough fiscal year, and it's been actually happening for a while, and they laid off a bunch of their employees. And after this financial struggles from Enthusiast Gaming, I was talking in that video that I was kind of worried for the artists that are on the SIMS resource, because SIMS resource is under the Enthusiast Gaming label, and this financial struggle might have repercussions on them as well. And well, I guess I was a little bit of a Cassandra in this case, because I saw the future and I said it, and apparently it did happen. And as of right now, at least 68 featured artists from the featured artist program on the SIMS resource have been booted off the company. We're talking about a pretty major number of SIMS content creators that have been pretty unceremoniously booted off this program with like a stock email saying, "Hey, I'm so sorry, this is happening, bye bye." But let's take a step back first and let's talk about the featured artist program. So featured artists are specific custom content creators that have been picked by the SIMS resource team to be featured on a specific page, and these are usually like bigger SIMS content creators that have the major number of downloads and reach with their content, and a lot of people want their stuff. The idea is to have them all in this program so that they can be paid accordingly to the downloads that they receive. I believe there is also a flat rate that they receive, and to just increase the engagement to the page and the site, having this specific page for featured artists. So as of a couple of days ago, if even that, as of me recording, 68 creators have been booted off this page without warning, without any information, and just this simple stock email. A lot of them are pretty major content creators, and the fact that this is happening and nobody seems to really be talking about it, the only people that I've seen talking about it are the artists themselves on Tumblr especially. That's because most custom content creators only use Tumblr, and I know a lot of simmers don't. So I really wanted to bring light to the situation because I haven't seen many people talk about it. So it does sound like they wanted to reduce the number of featured artists, and they did so just by taking off some people. But the issue with that is the way they went with it. They decided to just create a random, like, basic stock email and email it to everybody, no warning, no questions, and done. And it feels very shady to me. Not only because we're talking about major custom content creators that bring in millions to downloads to the site, and I can testimony to that because I know some of these creators and I know that they get those numbers. We're talking about people that bring in huge numbers that have been just taken off this program without any specific reason or explanation. So I wanted to go a little bit more in depth in this video and talk specifically to some artists that were affected by this. So I reached out to a few of the people that I saw on Tumblr talking about being deleted from this program, and I asked them a few questions. So now I'm going to go through the answers that they gave me and talk about some things that I found out while talking to them. What I'm not gonna do, I'm not going to say their names or post anything about that. I want to keep them all anonymous because I don't want anything huge to stem from this. These people were just very kind people that decided to take the time out of their day to reply to me. So first I want to thank every one of you that is watching this that replied to my message and taught me and told me some stuff, and we're gonna go through it together. So the first thing that I gathered, it seems that in these upcoming days, as of me recording, is the 2nd of September. This video might come out in a couple of days because I want to wait to see what happens exactly, because some people told me that the Sims research team is actually going to reach out to some artists. It's not really certain if that's going to happen or not and what this conversation might entail, but it seems like some, the fact that they was so unceremonious and so honestly bland of a booting off without any reason and explanation might have upset the artist, obviously, and then the Sims research saw that and decided maybe to reach out to them to explain a little better. I'm guessing this might be the conversation that they're gonna have. I'm not thinking that this conversation might lead to the artist being reinstated. I think even if they were to be reinstated, they probably would all leave because of the way the situation was handled. Since the situation with the creators won't be changed, I still anyway want to wait to see if this conversation is going to happen, to have maybe some explanation of some kind from the Sims research team. But now let's talk more in depth about the financial situation of the Sims resource. One of the artists told me a few things that I found very interesting, so I'm gonna read that to you. I cannot give a lot of insight into EG's finances, and I'm talking about Enthusiast Gaming, which is the parent company for the Sims resource, but there's been a major shift in the last few years that's been implied to be directly linked to the Sims resource not making as much money as it used to. Right before Modco started out, which is a competitive site to the Sims resource, which I believe is founded by some people that used to work for the Sims resource, and it's also where most of the artists that I've seen are moving on to. Our former artist manager was fired without warning or explanation, and we were left without proper management for months. There were a bunch of payment delays, lack of instructions, and general issues as a result. It took, I think, 2 or 3 months before we had a new manager. A ton of staff members quit to start Modco around the same time, and the social media manager was left to deal with everyone's questions and complaints on her own. She's lovely and she did her best, but there was a lot of uncertainty at the time, and this obviously wasn't actually our job. I think this is showing that maybe already behind the scenes something was happening with the issues with Enthusiast Gaming, in the same kind of vein at what happened with Omnia Media. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I suggest you watch my old video or other videos that I'm gonna link down in the description that are going to go into the Omnia Media discourse much more in depth. But basically, Omnia Media is another subsidiaries of Enthusiast Gaming, and they were having issues with paying their YouTubers. This creator continues with, shortly before I was dropped from the FA program, they announced a change in the artist payment system. They wanted to cut the payment bonus for early access. I never participated in the early access program, but basically the staff randomly selected a few creations from featured artists and select artists every day, and these creations were paid a 10% bonus on top of the base rates. They decided to cut that whole system overnight, with no prior notice. They were going to replace it with an ill-defined system where people could instead get bonuses from making creation that were needed. But it was never explained what these creations would be. I tried to ask some questions, but I never got a proper response. So to me, it really seems like there have been some issue behind the scenes that have been going on for a while at this point. But if we recall, the Enthusiast Gaming stuff has been going on at least from 2022, if not even before the pandemic. So it's been a couple of years at this point that the company has been struggling, so it makes sense that have been issues behind the scenes as well. And I'm mostly concerned about the staff members quitting and the firing of the artist manager without any real explanation to anybody. I probably am guessing they talked to the artist manager, but they didn't tell all the artists, which are the people that are in contact with the manager. I don't know, it felt a little bit of a iffy situation here. But I also asked about the general experience of working as a featured artist for the Sims resource, and all of the artists that I talked to were pretty positively talking about the situation overall, especially before this whole happened. Let me read through the replies and let's talk about them. At the start, being an FA at the Sims resource was awesome. We got to create whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. There wasn't really much of the Sims resource community all the way back when I first started, and I rarely heard from the staff or interacted with other artists. Us artists built this awesome community where we shared ideas, made really cool site-wide collaboration, and generally just had a great time together. Everyone was chill and supportive and constantly helping each other out. It was very motivating and a great time to be part of TSR. Also, being an FA was great for a while, but things eventually got more and more stressful. The collaboration went micromanaged from the top down rather than being a result of artist passion. Someone at EG saw the collabs brought in more clicks and decided to capitalize on it, giving us less input on what the themes for them would be until they eventually cut the whole thing entirely and replaced them with these new collections, which artists have no control over whatsoever. They decide on a set of collections and a firm schedule for them, and there's a monetary incentive for creating them, but it's very different from the artist-driven collabs that we started out doing. So there's definitely a change after the introduction of the Enthusiast gaming team that wanted to obviously to make a little bit more money than what the Sims Resource was already bringing in. I'm sure the Sims Resource has always kind of brought in some money, but obviously Enthusiast Gaming bought it to make money, so they wanted to have a return, a bigger return. So they started to micromanage a little bit more the situation, and maybe they really didn't understand how the community was working at this point, putting their hands in and starting to change things around without much input from the people that were working on it and the artists behind it. Maybe that's the reason that brought all this situation out. Well, another artist to the same question said, "If you asked me this question a year ago, the answer would have been different. When I first started on the Sims Resource, it was awesome. The other artists were great, so helpful and nice to everyone. The most amazing artist manager anyone could wish for. Actually, she was more like a mom to all of us than a boss. It felt like I became part of a big, loving family. And I was having so much fun learning new things, growing, and participating in collabs. I love collabs and was my favorite thing." Now, let's fast forward to how it was during last year. Our beloved artist manager got fired by EG. Lots of other amazing people got fired or left on their own term. We got a new artist manager, new rules, and a good handful of chaos. So again, we are going back to the fact that when EG came in, they changed things around. I mean, at this point, I think they have had the Sims Resource for a few years, but it's clear that after the pandemic, after the losses, the monetary losses by EG became a little bit more apparent, they started to be more involved in their companies, and that also saw some issues arising. So there was definitely like a change brought in by the Enthusiast Gaming team. My experience the last year being with DSR has been nothing like when I first started. The last year has been discouraging to say the least. I still felt a great support from the other artists, I made so many nice friends there, but it started to lose the good family vibes. The people in charge didn't seem to care about us as people anymore. They just cared about us as a product they can earn money from. And that doesn't make for a good working environment. I was feeling pressure to create more than what I was capable of, and it ended up making me feel burnt out and I lost my creative feeling. I was even considering quitting on my own terms, but since I was relying on the income, I couldn't really do that. So this brings up also another major point that, you know, it really irks me when we're talking about this situation, is the fact that a bunch of these custom content creators do work and make custom content for the Sims Resource because they receive an income from it. So the income is important. The fact that they, you know, have this passion of creating content is awesome, and I love when people do it for passion, but I understand people also have monetary needs. So having a passive income from your downloads and a flat base rate of income that always comes in every month is definitely something good for creators that, you know, want to continue creating and making their stuff, and maybe, you know, have a more of an incentive to create with the monetary stuff. But at the same time, when people like this person is also using this income to live day by day, it is a huge issue when you just cut off this income. No warning, no questions, nothing, just dropped out of existence. It's honestly very, very frustrating for me that I'm not even in this situation. I cannot imagine a bunch of these artists, how they're feeling now that one of their sources of income is just cut off and gone. And especially right now that we are living in a world where, you know, work is not really easy to come by, and income is always something that we need to take care of, and everything relies on your source of income. It's really scary to just lose it overnight. Another creator also told me about the issue with social media. So let me read what they said. They also started pushing us to advertise on social media and stuff like that, claiming that it was a requirement as FAs. At the start I was told several times that I was in no way required to be actively on social media, which I totally reneged on later. I love creating and I wanted to share my work with the community, and TSR was a place where I could do the things I enjoyed and share them with a large audience without engaging in stuff that I don't like doing. I was getting paid to create content, not to do their marketing for them, except suddenly there was a hard requirement and it really contributed to killing my enjoyment of creating custom content. And honestly, this made me think a lot about this. A bunch of the artists that I talk to do have maybe 1 or 2 social platforms that they use, but they don't have a huge online presence. Like when I'm talking about other content creators like YouTubers or streamers that are usually on most platforms, if not all platforms. I'm talking about myself especially. I'm thinking I have every single platform that exists. While I know that this is not everybody's cup of tea, I know a lot of Sims YouTubers and Sims streamers are also the same way and try to be on more platforms as possible. When I noticed that a lot of people that make custom content and mods are not as involved into social media, which is fair to be honest. I think social media can be easily very toxic, so I admire people that can take a step back like this. But what I found interesting is that looking through the people and the accounts of the people talking about being released from the featured artist program, I realized that a lot of them only have Tumblr or have Tumblr and maybe another social platform and are not super present in the social media sphere. So since this person was talking about how being an FA requires, this engagement online, it could be that honestly the Sims research just was like, oh, well, you don't have this social media, so well, I'm taking you off. I don't care that you get a million downloads every month. I'm gonna, you don't post on Twitter, so goodbye, or something like that. Obviously, I am saying all of this as a huge speculation. I have no exact idea why the Sims Research decided to release these people from the featured artist program, and I have haven't checked all of the 68 people to check if all of them only have a few accounts on social media, but I do see that that's kind of a trend. The majority of the people that I checked out do only have a few social media, and the social media presence is not like something they focus on. They much rather create a custom content, which is exactly what they are paid for. So I totally understand their position of saying, well, I'm making custom content, I don't have time to also manage my Tumblr and my Twitter and my Instagrams. And maybe I, want to take a step back and do other IRL stuff even, because custom content and mod creation does take a long time to make. So it makes sense that people might want to take a step back from social media when they are creating everyday custom content for a game. But since this person told me that the social media aspect has become such a huge relevant thing for the Sims Research, it could be the reason why we've seen this huge number of creators being deleted. I did also ask in regards of payment issues and all of that, again in regards of the things that happen with Enthusiast Gaming and Omnia Media. I wanted to make sure that maybe behind the scenes something wasn't happening as well. I got some different answers, so let me read them. There were occasional payment delays, but I wouldn't say they were frequent. There were some issues while they were switching up the system, but on the whole, it worked pretty well except for the period of time when there wasn't any staff around to deal with it. I think there were 2 or 3 times where they forgot to pay me for creations, but that was always fixed almost immediately with a quick message to the artist manager. I know other people have been more stressed about this stuff than I was. Another reply that I got said, like with everything else, it used to be great. Payment came when they should and it was nice. Last year was the first time I started experiencing problems with payment. The first time I had an issue, they forgot to add payment for one of my creations and I had to ask again and again for them to add it. It took 3 weeks. Imagine if you were missing the payment for a day's work and it took 3 weeks just to get it. That would be frustrating for anyone. And after that, it seemed like the missing payments, underpayments, delayed payment, and even accidental overpayments was the new normal. I think part of the reason for that though is because the Sims Research doesn't have a good overview of payments. It got to a point where if it got the right payment at the right time, I was surprised, and that's not how it should be. So I can see that not all artists were having the same issues with payment. There were definitely some issues, though. Everybody has talked about those a little bit in their replies. So there was definitely issues with payment and delays, and sometimes like incorrect amounts that were charged. So there was some stuff happening behind the scenes where the Sims research wasn't really handling correctly. But overall, I think it's also subjective to the artist's experience. Some of these artists, as I said, they do rely on this income, so it definitely feels a lot more frustrating when there are issues with payment, while maybe other artists that don't rely on this income every time, they maybe have other jobs outside of this, they probably don't feel as impacted by the issues with payment. But since all of the people that I talked to, they all told me about some issues with payment, I'm prone to believe that there were issues anyway. So as per the payment system and how it works and the FA system, this creator told me that basically every single creator gets a paid defined flat rate, which is supposedly based on the quality and the creation type, where they have been strictly forbidden from discussing how much they get paid for the creation, even with each other. As a result, there's been this culture of secrecy where none of us know if we're being paid fairly compared to anyone else. I still have no idea how my rates compare to other clothing creators with similar quality. And also this, I want to point out, it is alleged. It says it's been vaguely alluded by an ex-staff members that have been large discrepancies in payment within similar types of content. I have no clue who decided this or how, and it always seems extremely shady. And this person also says this was also a completely flat rate for each artist, which is why the quality of my creation declined sharply in the last few months when I was burned out and struggling to create. I could spend 20 hours on a really complex and interesting mesh, or I could whip up a basic tank top in 4 hours and get paid the exact same amount. If the money is so significant to the creator, it completely disincentivizes uniqueness and creativity. Download numbers don't factor into the payment system at all, which they claimed is because they don't want creation that typically don't get as many downloads to suffer, and I can see that reasoning. I also can understand that. It makes sense to not only care about the downloads. I would have thought that when you reach a certain amount of downloads and you get a certain amount of downloads, you might have your rate increase just because of the fact that you're bringing way more business to the site, way more traffic to the site. So I would have thought that that was the case, but I guess not. This person also told me that the second they removed me from the program with no warning, even though I told them several times that I was going to be inactive due to health issues, they assured me was no problem. I got a completely generic, standardized email alerting me that I've been cut from the program with no prior notice. They also removed my VIP perks on the site. Select artists and featured artists get free VIP account. On one end, this removal makes sense since it's supposed to be a perk for active artists, and I agree with that. On the other hand, my CC is getting them just under 1 million downloads every single month. This is a minor gripe, but it definitely adds to the sense of my work not being appreciated. And with the topic of the CC being on the site, I discovered through Tumblr, and both by talking to the artists and also from public posts, that basically their content is going to stay up on the platform. Because of the way the agreement works with the Sims resource, you are not allowed to take down your content after you leave the platform. So all of the artists that have been affected by this, all of their content will still be on the Sims resource, and you as a person could still download it, but that is not going to support the other artists in any way. That is also something that I think really sucks. I understand that it's part of the contract that they signed and the agreement that they have, so there isn't much that they can do, but I think it's very interesting that people, and I'm talking about these artists that still get millions of downloads, they won't see any payment from it, and people will not know that because there is no way to let people know how this artist also has this other platform where you can support them unless you looked up their name on Google and found their accounts, personal accounts. If you just go on the Sims resource site and you look up one of their names, you're gonna find their content and you can download it, but it won't support them. So that's also why I wanted to make this video and let people know, because if you do go to the Sims resource, which I do think it's a great site, it's a great repository for everything custom content for Sims, which is amazing. We don't have much of other sites that are the same. At the same time, they are working in this kind of weird, it feels a little weird that this content is going to stay up on the site, even though they removed these creators from the FA program and these people don't get paid anymore. So the last thing that I asked is the FA program a good opportunity for artists? And the replies say, I don't know. Up until yesterday, I probably would have said yes, despite all my complaints. It gave people a platform where they could share their work and get paid a little, and the system mostly worked. I would have still said that going the Patreon route is probably better because it gives you more creative control and lets the user directly support the people they want to support. For someone like me, who just wanted to share their content with as many people as possible, without the hassle of dealing with people, sure. After this mass FA demotion though, I can't say that at all. I think it's disgraceful how artists who have worked for the site for years have been treated, and it shows how little respect and appreciation the Sims resource has for its creators. There are also people who have depended on the Sims resource as their primary or even only source of income. They're kind, creative, hardworking human beings now left without any income, without any prior notice whatsoever. Since artists are independent contractors and not employees, this doesn't qualify for any kind of unemployment benefits, so people really just have been massively screwed over. This to me proves that the Sims research doesn't value its artists at all anymore. That's a sharp contrast to the site's culture where it first became an FA, and it was all good about supporting artists and creating unique high quality content, and it's really sad to see. Instead, this other artist told me that's kind of hard to answer. If you're a new creator who doesn't know how it used to be, it might be fun to try and have FA status on TSR. It is a milestone. After all, the Sims resource has been the biggest CC site for Sims for years, but as I have been saying now behind the curtains that FA status can be taken away from you out of nowhere without any warning or reason as to why, there are still amazing creators left there and you can still learn a lot from them, but be aware that relying on that income can be risky. But as a hobby for fun, why not? Personally, right now my opinions about the whole artist program aren't very good, but that is because I know how it used to be. But maybe one day it will go back being good again and the right people get put in charge and good creators keep on being there and doing their best. So I want to say that overall, all of the artists that I talked to were being very kind, especially when they were recalling working with certain people in the staff. I want to specifically talk about something else that they taught me. This person told me, I want to thank the artist manager we had when I first started. She was so amazing. I don't think I have the words to describe it, and would not have grown as a creator like I did without her. And I, together with so many others, just want her to know how much we appreciate everything she did for us, not just as artist manager, but as a friend. The biggest mistake Enthusiast Gaming ever made was firing her because she was the soul of the artist program. And he also said, and for any of my fellow artist friends who are still on the Sims resource, you go. Make your best work, help each other out, and do what you can to bring the glory back. Remember that the Sims resource is nothing without all the amazing artists. I wanted to point this out because it's clear that the artists really enjoyed working with the staff at a certain level. Overall, I only heard very positive things from, the way they were working with the people. And I know a bunch of the people that were working on the Sims resource now created Modco, and that's also where a lot of these artists are moving into. So it makes sense to me that, when you have a good rapport within artists and the people that are, supposed to work with the artists, that makes it for a good relationship. That means that more content, better content is going to be posted on your platform. And when you are handling it the way the Sims resource seems to be handling it, with Enthusiast Gaming coming in and changing all of this stuff up and messing things up and letting people go without any warning, that doesn't give you the good rapport that you need. And that also shows that, all of these artists that have been booted off the FAE program, they all said they're not going to post their stuff on the Sims resource anymore. So we're talking about at least 70 people, like around 70 people, that are not going to post for the Sims resource anymore. And on one hand, I'm sure the Sims resource did like their weighing of things, and they picked people that were like, oh well, if we lose this artist, it's not that bad, and maybe we can keep this other artist and all of that. I'm sure that there was a team behind it for this decision in some way. That being said, it does feel weird also for the people that are still in the FA program, because if you are an artist that works with the Sims resource and you are in the featured artist program, and you're like, well, I like it here, I get good, a good income, a good flow, and I can make my content and, put it up and people buy it and download it and everything, you might look at what is happening and be like, well, maybe I don't want to work for this company that is, booting off my friends like this without any warning and could do the same to me anytime. Overall, it is a very shitty situation, and there's nothing else that honestly we can do about it. The only thing that you can do, if you like sim content, sim custom content, and you use it and everything, go support the custom content creators and do so either through their personal sites or their social media. I know a lot of them do post on Tumblr, so if you don't have a Tumblr, I highly suggest you make one because it's free and you can find a lot of amazing custom content that maybe is connected to their site and all of that. Other than that, you can use their Patreons and give them a little gift or send them money through the Patreons. And I know a lot of these creators that have been booted off the program are moving on to Modco, which is a similar site to the Sims resource. So if you want to also support them, probably I'm guessing through Modco there is a way to support them. What I want to stop you from doing is going through SimsDom, because that site I know has been in hot water for stealing content from creators and posting it without their permission, like going through their Patreons and posting their content on their site, and when they're called out, they don't do anything. They either they block the creator and just shut up about it. So let's not use SimsDom, and also maybe let's not use CourseForge. That is a little bit of a spiny topic again. I talked about it in other videos, and I'm going to leave in the description a link to a video that explains perfectly how and why that site is not something you should put your hands into. But let's just say CurseForge is a Zionist company. It's owned by Overwolf, which is based in Israel. So, do with that whatever you want. I think social media, Tumblr, especially Tumblr, Patreon, and Modco are the best way to support your artists, since especially all the artists that have been affected by this. And also, while I'm here, let's talk about the artists directly. These people make the best stuff ever. They make custom content for a game and you get it for free. You get free stuff. Oh my god, that's insane. They deserve a little bit of love and a little bit of money back. Like, let's be nice to custom content creator. They make the best stuff, and I am super jealous of anybody that can do custom content, because I have no idea how to even start to do that. So keep going and do your thing, and we will support you. The Sims community will support you. So if there are going to be any other updates, either there is going to be a little bit more to this video that I'm gonna film later, or I will let you know in the comments down below or in a community post if there is a lot of stuff to talk about. So don't forget to subscribe so you can see what's coming up about the situation. Hopefully something comes up and we get some, closure about this. But I guess this is it. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.